having a strong mind, not only in just knowledge, but also like experience, how to deal with situations, how to deal with people, training your mind in a lot of different things that are necessary, to move ahead. I think it's a really important thing.
This is the Ellie
And Lee
Show.
This is chapter 5 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and we're going to be talking about the theme of the creation of money. So the first quote is, often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. So I actually think this is quite true because you can find a lot of people that are incredibly intelligent, like let's say during high school or university.
Yeah.
But then maybe they just end up becoming researchers or, working for a good company.
End up becoming researcher. Researcher is cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but you're not
Earning
making the big money
okay.
like, Steve Jobs or someone like that. Because if you look at Steve Jobs, I think people could argue that, the people around him were much more smarter. But at the same time, he was very, very bold.
Yeah, I agree. But in other way, he was smart. That's how he could become successful. He was smart in the beginning, but you're saying compared to his surrounders.
When he first started the company, he did it with a guy named Steve Wozniak.
Oh, yeah.
And he was basically the brains behind most of the stuff that first started coming out.
What happened to Wozniak?
I think he left the company some time ago.
So he's just a researcher now?
Or he doesn't own a company. I've never heard of Pear owned by Steve Wozniak.
I don't know about it, but I'm pretty sure he would be successful as Steve Jobs. This is from the book, right?
Where is he now?
Okay.
I bet you he just works for a nice big company. He's like the CTO or something like that.
That's still cool, but I know what you're saying.
It's cool.
Yeah,
but it's not
but comparing is bad. Comparing is bad.
No, well, that's the real world.
He's fucking rich.
I'm not saying that he's not rich or anything like that. If you compare him to Steve Jobs, who do you think would be more rich? Like if Steve Jobs was still alive.
Well,
and the owner of Apple, which is probably one of the most biggest companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then in that relation, you can see the difference. Because I think the thing is, again, it comes down to personality. Because we're not saying that if you're smart, then you're not going to get ahead. Because obviously Steve Jobs and
was smart.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was smart. And yeah, so then that's where the bold comes into your personality, because if you're not willing to take risks, then, then that business idea or that venture that you want to get into, you won't see it through because you may be scared that it won't be successful or that sort of thing. But then when you are bold, then you take those risks, and then that's obviously someone that's more disagreeable. They would take the risk to maybe start a company and become rich, or start a company and go bankrupt. Because then if you look at another person who I like, Elon Musk.
Okay.
He took all the money he had from the sale of PayPal, well, before it was PayPal, and then he started Tesla and SpaceX, I think. So if those projects failed, if those companies failed, he would have been bankrupt. So he took
risk.
He took quite a huge risk to become in the position he is now. It's not like he's not intelligent.
He's super intelligent.
Yeah, he's crazy intelligent, but I'm sure there's a lot of really good engineers there as well.
I see.
Yeah. So it's true in a sense, but at the same time, I do think to a certain degree the smart do get ahead, especially in today's market.
Yeah, that's true. I think that in this quote, what it says that you cannot just be stupid and bold and go successful. You have at least some intelligence to be successful. But it says, there would be lots of smarter people than you, but if you are bold enough and have some gut to take a risk, then you might be able to success. So
yeah, bold. Then that's the thing. Because if we're talking about the real world, then let's say you hit gold or something. like let's say back in the day, you end up finding a gold mine or something like that.
Yeah.
Even though you found it, if you're not smart enough to manage it, there could be someone that's smarter that would trick you into like a deal or whatever, where they end up being better off.
Yeah.
Like let's say they give you a big sum of money, but they say, okay, I would like 51% control.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing is also comes into intelligence. That's what I want to say. I mean, let's say Wozniak was smart in computer science or whatever the field he's in at that moment. Steve Jobs might not be that smart than Wozniak, but he was intelligent enough to deal with other criteria, something like business or dealing with company, I would say.
Yeah, dealing with people.
Dealing with people, that's also intelligence. It doesn't seem like it, but I do believe that was intelligent enough. And I like another example came into my mind. So I heard that when you think about those people who discovered some scientific law and something like that.
Or like Einstein.
Yeah. So someone like Einstein, let's say that. So someone who, let's imagine one person is really smart and he discovered or she discovered a big innovation.
Yeah.
But if that person cannot serve it to everyone else, I mean like he discovered it, and if that ends there, then it's done, because you wouldn't earn that much money, because you need to provide it to people as a service, and this kind of process is important to gain money. So even though you're genius or smart enough to do the first part of your job, if the second part is like lacking, then you wouldn't get as much as you might think you deserve.
Yeah, that's true. And it's also how it gets discovered, because if it's discovered while they're working at a company, I know in a lot of the cases, the company owns those sort of things. Like if you're in a research field, then whatever breakthroughs you have, that's actually owned by the company.
Yeah.
And also like if there's the case where you're doing it by yourself, then you have to be smart enough to quickly apply for like a copyright or IP so that it doesn't get taken by anyone else.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Which requires some form of intelligence.
Yeah. Let's hope you do have that form of intelligence.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you guys think of the question? Have you had experiences where people that, in your opinion, maybe weren't as smart but got ahead? Or do you think it's the case that it's generally those that are smart that get ahead? Let us know down in the comments below.
And do you think it's fair or not?
No one cares.
Okay, no one cares. I care, but yeah, I think it's fair.
If you're enjoying this video so far,
please like and subscribe. Okay, the next quote. The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind.
Yeah.
If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth seemingly instantaneously. An untrained mind can also create extreme poverty that can crush a family for generations. Interesting, because I'm really interested in mind, and I do believe this is the true statement.
Yeah.
The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. Yeah.
I think I liked this chapter the most because it spoke more about the importance of your mind and learning.
That's true.
So like in this statement, I definitely agree that, having a strong mind, not only in just knowledge, but also like experience, how to deal with situations, how to deal with people, training your mind in a lot of different things that are necessary, to move ahead. I think it's a really important thing.
Yeah, it is.
And I think like the last part where it said, if you're an untrained mind can end up crushing a family for generations. That's kind of interesting because
I don't think so.
It depends. It does depend because
sorry, go on.
Like let's say someone worked really hard to get their $1 million mansion and whatever the case may be, but then they have kids that don't appreciate it and also have like maybe bad habits and end up when they're older just burning through all of that money, but then also never learning the lessons of how their father and mother got rich. So then what they teach their kids when they have kids is nothing of real value. So then their kids might end up going through a struggle as well.
But I believe that these days there is like too many platforms that you can use to improve your mindset. So like even though your parents didn't teach you how to have a good mind or whatever that might be, you can just learn it by yourself. So I don't think that can ruin your generations or something like that.
I'm not saying that in every case it does. I'm just saying like that could end up happening because at the same time, not everyone is looking for self-improvement. Like while you might be watching a video on, you know, how you can get better at something you feel you need to, someone else could just be watching memes or some YouTube drama. I don't watch YouTube drama. I do watch memes.
Yeah, you do watch memes. Okay. Yeah, that can happen then, but just not usual, I think.
I think it's more likely.
Okay, that can be.
Yeah. So let's go to the second quote.
Third.
Zasad quote. Okay, for the next quote. If the opportunity is too complex and I do not understand the investment, I don't do it. Simple math and common sense are all you need to do well financially.
Really? I can do simple math and common sense, so can I do investment well?
Well, do you have common sense?
What the heck?
I'm joking. Well, it'll be common sense in the case of financial common sense.
That's too bad. I'm learning it, so I'll have it so far.
You'll have it in the future.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, but I like this one to a certain degree because, yeah, sometimes people have ideas. You know, I'm going to start this, I'm going to invest in this thing. But they don't have enough knowledge to do it in a way that would be successful. So sometimes it's better not to do it. But at the same time, I think, you know, it's okay to fail.
Yeah, but like how would you define the enough knowledge when it comes to investment? Because,
like let's say, so a few years ago, Bitcoin was a really huge thing, right?
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to get into Bitcoin because it's like, oh, you can make so much money on Bitcoin. But then most people don't really understand how it works or how it's made or what you should do with it, right?
Oh,
like even I don't understand it.
Investing, they didn't know what is Bitcoin.
So it's just like the thing is, like it again, I don't know much about it either. But let's assume that it works similar to a stock, right? Then people, because they're hearing the buzz phrase of, oh, Bitcoin's the new thing, essentially they're buying high-risk stocks without the knowledge of what happens to it. They don't really see the risk that it has. If you were to tell them that it's just like buying a high-risk stock, they would have probably never bought it.
Okay, I see. That's true, because it's hard to see the high risk because there are some crazy stories about like how can they earn so much money from Bitcoin. So
yeah, exactly.
That's like, oh, you need to take high risk, and some people might say, it's fine, like I saw someone get high returns, so I can do it.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Exactly. Or like if you go and buy well, this is an example for me, but if you go and buy a second-hand car, right? And on the outside, it looks really great. On the inside, it looks really great. But you don't know much about cars. So you don't know what to look for. Like that could be the signs of something where it's going to break soon and you're going to have to pay so much money for.
What should I looking for when I buy a second-hand car?
What I did, because I knew I didn't have the knowledge, I would take like my friend that was a mechanic, and then they would look over the car, you know, and then during the drive they would, you know, be listening out for whatever might be wrong, that sort of thing.
That's
and then only after they said, yeah, it seems like a good buy, then I would buy the car. So in that situation, like if you don't have the knowledge, and it's being brought up in the book, if you don't have the knowledge or you don't have the expertise, then get someone that does have it.
But it says common knowledge would be enough.
No,
common
it says,
sense.
Yeah, common sense. If it seems like it's too good to be true, it probably is.
So Bitcoin was too good to be true.
Well, I don't know. We don't know how far Bitcoin's going to go, or just those blockchain currencies in general. So you never know. I think when it boomed, then at that point it was probably too good to be true, because it probably boomed only because there wasn't any kind of regulation at the time.
Okay.
Please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out.
Thanks for watching.
See you.
you.